You can use any of your regular watercolors and put a little white with it to make it gouache.
Okay.
Okay? And you can make dark gouache. Just because you put white with it doesn't make any difference about the value of it. I can make a very dark gouache, but I've got a little white in it to make it opaque. So that's.
But you're using gouache.
I'm using gouache for this, yes. But you can make your own gouache. So, and I am going to start off with tea. So just to be clear, this is a gouache palette. This is my watercolor, my transparent palette right here. I can make any of these colors into gouache by mixing it with a little bit of this, my designer colored white, permanent white gouache. So I can do that to make it opaque. And I can mix it very dark color because I've still got some white left in it. It's still going to make it gouache because I added this. So all I want to do for this start, and we are painting that guy, is all I'm going to do is wet it. I'm just going to completely wet it just like I would with, I'm just painting a normal watercolor. I don't want you to get confused about watercolor and gouache. They're both watercolor, except one is opaque and one is transparent. And that's due to the size of the pigment particles. One is going to soak into the paper much more than the other one. And I'm painting on, whether I'm painting opaque or transparent, I'm painting on the same surface, which is a 140-pound cold press. I'm just going to make a simple bullseye. And I see my reference. I've got, I've got a light area up here. I'm just going to add a little more color to it. So I'm going to make it pale yellow. And I'm going to put a little blob up here. There's my yellow. And then I'm going to start surrounding it. So I'm going to add a little raw sienna. Make sure, if you can't see this, if I go out of frame, please holler at.
Is that straight yellow or did you mix it with white?
It's just, yeah, no, it's just straight yellow. We're not using any white yet. We're just painting transparent. We're painting tea. So now I want to go around that. This is going to give me my my bullseye effect. Fill that whole thing. And now I want to add a little bit of violet to that. I'm going to start graying it out a little bit. Make it a neutral. So I'm getting this bullseye. Gonna make that even a little bit stronger down here. And I'm painting tea. I'm painting very wet. I've already wet the paper. So you see how I'm getting this atmospheric effect? So, hey, that wasn't so hard. That's not wash derangement syndrome. I'm just painting a bullseye. Like and that's a lot of water in this. A lot of water. And don't worry about making anything perfect because you're going to be covering this up with trees. So that's my first stage. if I want to say, okay, I've got a tree back here, I've got a tree here. If I want to add something else here right now, that's still, it's pretty dry, but I'm just going to put another tree back here. I am. I just want that tree to be in there. And you can see what happens is drying top to bottom. So this is pretty typical of how watercolor works. Transparent watercolor. Okay, I am going to mix up, and I can use some of that warm color I just mixed. Here's a warm color, and I've got some of that warm color going through here. I'm just going to make it all warm for now, and I've got that warmth right through there, right through here.
And you didn't wet the paper first, right?
What?
You didn't wet that paper.
No. It's dry paper. I've got a little bit of warmth back here, and the rest of it's going to be cool. I'm going to use cobalt. It's kind of a neutral blue.
What did you do with this on?
I'm just going to use,
You're blocking in.
I'm just blocking in. I'm just getting the paper prepped. I'm leaving this light up here. I'm leaving that light. I just go ahead and go through that. Just getting it blocked in. I'm going to let some of this mingle. So there's some of that blue. It's cooler at the top up here. I'm trying to get the feel of this. I'm gonna, as I said, I'm gonna leave that white. Gonna leave this white. And I can also now mix those colors together. So I'm using my warm and I'm using my cool mixed together to make kind of a green. So now I can start putting some of this in. And I don't have to worry about anything actually. I just want to make sure that I'm not going over something I'm going to need later. And when you put those ripples in, just go ahead and do that and then put the ripples in. But I'm just kind of prepping the paper because I have those two colors to work with. Actually, those are the same two colors. So I think I've kind of captured my light. Kind of fun. Look at that, I can already see the light. So also give me a little clue on if my design is okay. Looks like a swan already. So I'm using my paint like tea. Not getting too dark with it yet. I'm keeping it pretty transparent. Now that top, while I'm waiting for this one to dry, that top is going to be pretty almost dry. So we can start playing with that one. I like doing this because it's my kind of my value study with no consequences. I'm not going to need gravity anymore for this. All I'm going to do next, I'm doing this in layers, is all these paint limbs back here. This tree, I can block these in for design purposes. All these, I'm going to use a twice as dark a value. I'm going to use this value right here. And you can use any kind of brush you want. You can use your sword brush. You can use a flat brush. You can use whatever you think. Just go ahead and put those in. And now I'm still using
Just the two colors.
I'm still using that warm that I had. I'm using kind of a yellow uh, ochre or a raw sienna, I guess. And I'm using a little bit of violet in it to just kind of dirty it up a little bit. And I'm going to make it, I'm going to add a little white to that one because I want it a little lighter. And I also want it a little more opaque. So here's my mix. This is my, here's my mix right here. You can see that it's not cream, it's not tea. It's kind of somewhere in between. It's got a little white in it, into it. I want to see how that's a pretty good color. And so now I can put this tree in over here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And don't go too crazy with trying to do things too perfectly. There's a limb. Here's a limb, bigger limb. It's going to be darker later. Here's something going up here. Something doesn't really make a lot of difference. You're just putting in a background. Making it darker over here on the side. It's kind of goes. Not gonna get too fancy with it. I don't care about a finished painting. I'm learning how to use gouache. I think that's enough. Got that nice glow. I'm gonna take that color that I used. I made up using raw sienna and purple. And I added a little white. Now, this is going to be darker, but I added white to it, so that's okay. So I know that this is a darker down here and a little darker over here, just for variety. Layers that so nicely. Look at the depth that I'm getting. Fun way to paint. Anyway, that would be my second layer. Remember, especially with gouache, the fewer the strokes, the better the result. That's true with any painting, I think. You always have time to add the jewelry later, but the foundational stuff has to be right. Otherwise, jewelry doesn't make any difference. And that's the big shapes and the value of those big shapes. Okay, I've got the swan that's pretty dry. I'm going to mix up some swan colors. Just for fun, I am going to make that a little bit lighter, a little more depth. And I'm going to squeeze out some white. So this is milk. I want to put a little bit of that right there. I want to put a little bit of this around the edge. Right? We'll put a little bit of that there. And a little bit. And that'll complete that look. But I am going to use a little bit of that color. And I'm going to mix some violet with it. Now I'm going to make a gray. All right, a nice warm
Making a
neutral. I'm mixing a neutral color right here. That's a nice warm gray. And that is going to go all the way down. Gets a little bluer in here. It's a little darker down in here. I'm gonna go ahead and put it over the whole thing. A little bit back here. So this is my translucent color.
So it's watery.
No, it's milky.
Yep.
Yep, it's milky. I'll do the same thing with the blue. This is my blue. Gonna add a little white to that. Make it a little more milk. And I'm gonna add a little bit of orange to that. Just because I want to neutralize it a little bit. That's too green. So paint and adjust, paint and adjust. Now this is my milk, and it looks dark, but it won't be. And add a little more purple to that for right under the duck, or the swan, excuse me. Sorry, swan,
One.
called you a duck. Tad of white. Already started to use the opaqueness. Look at that. Gonna add a little bit more white to that warm color that I had, but I'm gonna keep it kind of neutral. So here's where my reflection would start to come in. See, look how much fun you can have just painting. Just painting. I want to see what this, how this dark is going to hold up. So I'm going to start painting in this head. Getting there. And I'm going to probably finish painting the swan before I get to the back room.
Before you get to the background?
Before I get to the back room. Not going to do anything with the whites of this or anything else yet. I just want to make sure that I kind of have the duck, or I did it again, the swan figured out. I just want to put a little swipe of orange in there, just because I want to see where it is. I did that, so now I'm going to have a little dirtier version of that down here someplace. So that okay, I think we're doing pretty well. That you could see the strokes that I'm using. I'm blocking in. That's where the reason I'm using a flat brush. I'm trained on using that flat brush. So that one is ready for the background, the dark green background, I think. Not ready for the white yet. Now I can go back to this guy. And I'm using the same palette, but I'm not really. I'm going to use some burnt umber, and violet together to give me a good dark. And I'm going to add a tad of white to that to make it more opaque. And now I can start putting in the next step on this guy. Which is, I'm going to put this tree. Whoa, one stroke. 2 strokes going to be for this tree. There's my tree. There's one tree. This other tree is a kind of at an angle
How
here.
thick is your paint?
I'm sorry?
How thick is your paint?
Pretty thick.
So hardly.
It's thick milk. I've added a little white to that. You can see it's still kind of milky, but it's on the creamy side. So this tree is going to be thicker. So I'm going to make a few more strokes. I don't want these trees to be the same thickness. Got a little bit of dark over here. And that limb is going to be dark. I'm going to make it go beyond that tree to the other side. This part right here. Onto the other side. Down here it's pretty dark. Do some nice texture going on there. I'm going to thin that down a little bit, back to some tea. A little in there. Tea. A little bit more tea. There, look at that depth that we're building up. Wow. Kind of cool. I'm going to let that dry a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to start adding some branches in here. And that's going to kind of be my layered wash going from tea to milk to more cream. That's pretty opaque, covering everything up. It's still translucent, kind of, sort of, still has a feel to it. And if you think you goofed up, just let it dry and paint it out or paint over it. I'm making this dark color, but I'm adding a little white to it. Look at that. Now I've got white in there. Now I'm going to make it darker. There's my cream. branch growing outside of this tree right here. Put in these main branches. Got this one coming in somewhere up here. And then this kind of a straight line. So I'll make it a straight line, but I'll make it a little jaggy. And I've got this guy coming in over the top, this arch. Something coming.
What brush are you using for that?
How much what?
What brush?
My dagger brush.
Okay.
Something going on here. All of these branches that I'm putting on here now, these limbs are going to have snow on them. Don't worry about anything if you went too long or too short. Doesn't make any difference. This is just getting the feel of this. You can change any of this. You don't have to follow the reference if you don't want to. Anyway, so there's my kind of my last part of this. Before I put in the leaves and before I put in the snow on top. Wanted to make that a little bit darker. Look. Cool. I can do that. Yay. I can do that because I am using gouache. I'm going to add a little black to that mix that I did on the trees before I do the snow because I want this to be darker. I want to bring those out a little bit more. And I'm also going to make those branches just a tad darker. Like the time I can use some dry brush in there too. A dark color. Some weeds. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I've got the structure of my painting pretty well set up, I think. I'll let that dry. I'll go back to the swan. I'm going to use that raw sienna, and I'm going to use some ultramarine blue make a pretty good dark green. Want it to be pretty dark. Already had a little white mixed into that, so now I'm gonna be more opaque with this. Gonna be about as opaque as I can get, so here we go, there's that. I'm gonna block these in first. So I see that this, see that area right there, I'm blocking in here and here. So there's that. I'm not worried about the edge.
What size brush are you using?
A big brush. I'm using a big brush. Because I like big brushes, because look at they're that small.
Is that a dark green?
That's a dark green, yeah. I'm just blocking this in. Because I'm going to paint the water on top. It's pretty creamy. Now I can go back and I can put those edges on. Look at how much, look how much this changed this painting. And now then, it was so easy to do because I'm using I'm using opaque. Pretty good shape for that. Look what a difference that made to this painting. Wow. Wow. That could be a painting right there. But I'm going to wait for this to dry before I add the rest of the reflections, water, etc. And I still need some darker over here, but now I think I've pretty much got the feel of this. And it was so easy to paint, for me at least, using a combination of transparent and opaque watercolors. Okay, this is ready for some darks, which the only dark I've put in here so far has been right there. Darks and lights. To really make this thing kind of pop. I can go back and I can fix all those little things that have been bugging me. Oh, yeah. It's a try.
Yeah.
That's all it is a try. So. Good. Like dark, hot, something. Hot. Okay, so all we have to do to the top one is put the leaves and the snow in. And the bottom one, the swan, I keep calling it duck, is add some light where I want to add a little bit more for refinement and add a little dark.
That's after it dries.
I'm sorry?
After it dries. Does it have to be drier?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of waiting for. So we'll give it a couple of minutes and then take a little break. I'm going to see if I can't go ahead and do this guy. So I'm going to use my creamy. I'm going to make creamy. And I can get that as dark as I want. I'm going to make it pretty dark. So see how creamy that is.
Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
Really okay.
Yeah, that's what gouache is. So. See, it's covering up there. See how that snapped everything together and brought everything together. And I didn't have to do very much.
How much do you want to take for the break?
Oh, we'll do
The picture here.
oh, yeah, I just need it.
Because I'm using the colors from the.
Yeah, so,
from there.
yeah, so here is this. I'm gonna put a little something there. And I think that's probably my darks. And now I'm gonna use some white, this fresh white. Well, I've already got fresh white down here. You can see how my palette's changed a little bit. So I want to make sure that that's white, thick white, creamy white. So that's fairly creamy. So now I can pops that pretty good. A little bit over there, but I've got a lot down here. I'll just do that. Crack and tickle the edge here. White here. This really does bring this all together. White along the edge here. White and tail is this fine. I can get as picky as I want with this, especially when you get into this. Uh, I I like it less. Look at that magic.
Wow, it is.
I'm gonna mix up just a little lighter blue. It's kind of milky. Milky blue, just to put a little bit on. And believe me, that's not going to dry. Remember I said it's going to dry lighter or darker. That's going to dry lighter. These little guys right here that I'm putting on. Kind of hard. It's kind of interesting to see that milk. That's going to dry a lot lighter. This gets pretty blue back here, so it's going to take a little milk. Then the fun part, for me at least, is thick paint. Thick paints. Look how much that adds to that. Just that white.
Yeah.
Going through there. I'm going to thin that down a little bit and then just put a little another streak going on back there. Some bubbles in that water. And pretty much that's
Very nice.
pretty much it. And I would not have been as nearly successful with this if I would have been painting this with
It's,
just transparent watercolor. Because I would have been locked into a lot of masking
mhm.
and anyway, I think that's pretty good for the duck. I mean, the swan. I keep
What?
He keeps calling the poor swan a duck.
some duck. Ooh, those make a difference. Anyway, I'll pull the tape off of this one.
Winery thing.
I got a little bit in there, so I'm just gonna go back and fix that because I can. And I just mix up the right color somewhere in here, I guess. And I'm going to go add a little white to that. I'm just going to fix that. Okay, I am going to take the tape off of the duck. I gotta call him a duck now. I'm using opaque. That's pretty poppy. Make sense?
Yes, and I like that it's so painterly,
Yeah.
you know.
And
it's-
it's as painterly as you want it to be. I mean, it depends on your style. So,
my style's really tight and I'm trying to loosen because I draw. I
uh-huh.
do the charcoal.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
draw. So I just trying to.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it.
How's your son?
I get it.
Today because he has the Ventura Fairground. Oh, excellent. There, hi, Bobby. Got it? Can you open it? Yeah, I got it. Open it.
What I also like about it is that I can be more painterly. I like my paintings better because I stop earlier. I can block stuff in and I get to a certain point. What more can I say? Now I gotta get out my little brush and I gotta add the jewelry, which I don't care about. So I'm leaving that up to the viewer.
So now we're
You
doing
can,
just the
you
white.
can tell, even though we're painting a small size, that's my hand. I painted most of that painting with this brush. I think I used that one to wet, but maybe no, I use this brush too. So that's a pretty thick, a big brush. Because it's this big and it's this small. That little tip right there. So you can go back and you can paint stuff. So anyway, having said that, we're going to go to this guy and I'm just going to mix some white paint. And this is easy to overdo, believe it or not. The first thing I think I'm going to put in is the leaves. I have orange leaves in here, so I'm going to pick some. Oh boy, my palette is toast. There's some orange. That's my lighter orange. I'm going to put a little bit of white with that, so it's a little more opaque. So there's my orange, and I see that I have something going on over here. I'm going to make that a little more orange. I have some leaves going on over here, and they're going to go right in front of that guy. That's beauty of opaque. And I have a little leaf that's kind of cool. It's kind of right here. And I have some more leaves down here. Don't go crazy. That's enough. And then I have a little dark. I'm going to use my burnt umber, what's left in my palette here. There's just a little bit of dark in there. I don't need too much more. I'm going to make one of these leaves pretty redder, just for variety. There we go. I don't need too much. And now I need kind of a thin brush. I'm actually going to use a rigger because I think I can get it thin enough. And I'm just going to use white paint, and I'm going to follow my, I'm going to use white paint, and I'm going to follow, I'm going to mix a puddle right here. And I want it to be pretty white because it's not going to dry as white as it looks. I guarantee you. And that's okay. I know I'm going to have snow on the top of these branches. I'll take a little bit of the paint off of that. Here's some snow on top of these branches. Already it's looking like a snow land. Cool. I could not have painted this any other way. Back to your palette. Yes, I know I have a bunch of little stuff happening up here. There we go. Not taking much. And yeah, I know I have a bunch of scribbly stuff over here. And I have a little bit of that happening down here. I do not have to follow every thing that that reference is telling me to do. That looks, I'm gonna thin my paint out a little bit. That looks pretty good to me. I think that's all I really needed. Just I'm using a thinner white paint now, and I'm splaying my brush a little bit. See that see that texture that I can get. Oh, cool. Also, for some of those little branches, here's a black pencil. So I'm just going to press lightly, and I'm going to add all the detail that I would ever need for all those little branches on top of this guy and this guy, this guy. Circle around in there a little bit. This guy, all these little branches up in here. Here we go. Kind of has the flavor that I want. So let's put it to the test. I could put a cardinal, a red bird, a bluebird up in that tree someplace sitting. That would be kind of fun. Anyway, I think mine is a little stronger painting.